How's it, guys? So it is day 11 of our lead generation initiative, our 21-day lead generation initiative, and we've talked about a lot of different things. So I encourage you to just start on day one and go through the videos. It's also on podcast, version 8 podcast. Just search it if you're on iOS, Android, or Spotify, or wherever. I do think it's important that you just catch up. But we've talked about so many different things, but the last thing we talked about is marketing automation. We want to nurture these leads who's now come into our system. We have their attention. What can we do with it? And the biggest mistake that you can make, guys, is just to send them a follow-up email saying, hey, did you get my first email? That is the worst thing that you can do, because now you're just spamming someone. You're not adding real value to their life, right? They probably saw the mail, they weren't interested, didn't understand, so therefore they've got more important things to worry about. So now you're just going, hey, did you get that last mail? Is just going to annoy them. So you need to keep on adding the value, and most importantly, there's different decision-making processes in the back of our minds. One is logic, one is emotional. And the studies have shown that we, as humans, 90% of our decision-making comes from our emotions. Now, we're proud and romantic to an extent where we believe that we justify all our purchases through logic, because we wouldn't necessarily want to waste money, but therefore we're actually wrong, because we convince ourselves on an emotional level that the logic makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to use an example. I'm a massive Apple fan. I've been using Apple products for a very long time, for the last 8 years, and it's at a point where I convince myself that I'm more productive. I'm at a point where I don't see myself using another computer ever again. And I believe that the price I pay, which is more than traditional computers, is worth it. And if we had to break it down on a granular level and dissect whether that's actually true or not, if we had to do some scientific research, then I suppose, maybe I'm marginally more productive or efficient with my work. I might not necessarily be as efficient as I would think I am, right? Or I might not be much more efficient if I just use a traditional laptop, HP or whatever, or Acer. But I believe I am, and therefore I believe that the increase in price is justified. So I convince myself. But because I've got such a strong emotional connection with the brand, you start convincing yourself that it's a logical decision, because I'd rather pay this price because the computer lasts me so long and I never have to buy another and I'm more productive. So that's the emotional side justifying the logic, even though a lot of people are probably more productive than me using other computers. So I think that's very important to keep in mind, that studies have shown that we are creatures of, I want to say creatures of habit, but we are creatures that are just making decisions based on our emotions. And it's the same as we, in a heated discussion, we say things we don't mean. It's the same with our emotions. If we feel connected to a brand, we buy things that we probably don't need. So, and we justify that in our own way, shape, or form. So what I want to conclude with is that you need to keep that in mind when it comes to your lead nurturing. And I want to talk about the emotional side. So you need to find an angle into this conversation, again, because the first message probably didn't work. That person got the ebook or the lead magnet, and you presented your offer in some way, shape, or form, or maybe you essentially try to redirected them to a page where there was an offer and they didn't take it. Just sending them back to that page, or just sending them another follow-up email saying, hey, did you get it, is just going to annoy them. So you need to find that unique angle back into the conversation, and the emotional side, an emotional perspective is usually the one that's going to get their attention. And it's a matter of finding, now because you understand their hopes, pains, dreams, and fears, these things that we've talked about before, you can leverage that when it comes to crafting an email that addresses that emotional pain points, that emotional hopes, the dreams. These are all emotions to an extent, right? If they're frustrated, you can start the email with like, aren't you just frustrated with the fact that X, Y, Z, Z, Z? And immediately you get them on an emotional connection. It could potentially be the same with their hopes, their dreams, and their fears. For example, a weight loss brand, okay, you have the hope of the dream of fitting into your wedding dress. You have the hope that the products are affordable. You have a fear that the products are not safe, maybe. And essentially, the pain point is that you've tried everything. So those are 4 different emotions. And you can now craft a mail that addresses all those 4 elements. So it's saying like, are you prepping, not necessarily for a show, but are you getting ready to fit into your dream wedding dress? We probably know that you're probably frustrated and you've tried everything, but you're lacking the results that you feel that you deserve. So rest assured that this product of ours is 100% safe, and it's also affordable. It doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. So you've now addressed all these 4 emotions in the mail, right? So in the next video, we're going to talk about the logical aspect of this conversation, where if the emotional side didn't work, try a logical side, because there's a lot of people who, even though they're just very disciplined, so they're not going to have their emotions get the best of them. So there's always that first initial email, which is the lead magnet that you send them, say, hey, thanks, and here's something if you're interested. If they're not, there's a follow-up email from an emotional perspective, and we're going to talk about the logical perspective in the next video. So all the best, and have a wonderful day.